Okay, we're going to go ahead and start the meeting. I would like to welcome everyone today. I am Vice President Bustamante Adams, and I call the special board meeting of May 20th, 2024 to order. The time is 5:02. I'd like to remind everyone to silence your electronic devices. We acknowledge the land of which we are gathered is the territorial homeland of the Niuwu, the Moapa Band of Paiutes, and the Las Vegas Band of Paiutes. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Trustee Brooks. All right, we're going to move on to item 102, adoption of the agenda. Trustee Zamora, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Members of the board, I would like to make a motion to adopt the agenda with the following changes. I don't have a list of changes. Do we have changes? I will take that back and restart this one. I would like to make a motion to adopt the agenda as is.
Second.
All right, I have a first from Trustee Zamora. I have a second from Trustee Brooks. All right, go ahead and mark to approve or disapprove. All in favor, say aye. On the phone, Trustee Garcia Morales.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Aye.
Trustee Williams.
Aye.
It doesn't show. Do I have to? It's okay. It's not going to show. Oh, okay. All right. So that motion passes. Make sure that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-0. Next, we're going to go on to item 2.02. This is the time and the place that was advertised for the public hearing on the tentative budget. 2.01, thank you. This is the time and place that was advertised for the public hearing on the tentative budget per Nevada Revised Statute 354.596, and the interested person shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning the 2024-2025 tentative budget of the Clark County School District. I don't see anyone on the list to speak in public. Do we have any public comment cards? No, we do not. And somebody just joined. Can you?
This is Trustee Cavazos.
Thank you, Trustee Cavazos. We are on item 2.01 during the public hearing on the tentative budget. But we have nobody on the list that called in advance, and no public comment cards as is time. So therefore, I will now close the public hearing and move on to item 2.02. Nope. Oh, I got to call Jason up. Mr. Gowdy, can you please come forward for your presentation? And I'll turn it over to Interim Superintendent Larson Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, members of the board. For the record, Brenda Larson Mitchell. This evening, we have Mr. Gowdy presenting the 2024-2025 final budget. So at this time, with your permission, Vice President, I will turn it over to Mr. Gowdy.
Thank you, Jason Gowdy for the record. The final budget, where's the clicker? Pull that up. So here's a quick overview, same overview that we just saw during tentative budget. Hold.
Okay, thank you. Just for some clarification, I'm going to just go ahead and state for the record that we're going to go ahead and close 2.01, and we're going to move on to 2.02.
Great, thank you, Gowdy. Thank you, Vice President. Members of the board, Interim Superintendent, Dr. Larson Mitchell. So the overview is the same that we presented just over 30 days ago related to the presentation. The timeline is same, and this is the portion where we adopt the final budget. The next slide, the uncertainties under enrollment and risk of recession are still the same. We did not identify any changes there. Student enrollment is still anticipated and forecasted to be the same at an average ADE of 289,350. Pupil-centered funding plan, same slide. Total pupil revenues, we are still anticipating the same 94.97 that was approved by legislature, and total of $12,030 per student. Where the money comes from, this slide is essentially the same with some minor changes. State education funding, $3,253.6 billion, which is just about 94%, and the other 226. And those are essentially the same numbers. The only thing that has changed up in the top, we previously had an estimated fund balance of 510.4, and now it is down slightly to 497.6, which I will highlight later. And then also that includes an unassigned fund balance of 151.6, which is slightly down from the 156.6 that was presented during tentative budget. The general operating revenues have not changed as noted from the tentative budget, and so there's reflected there at the bottom, no change since tentative. Therefore, the state assumptions, projections and assumptions slide did not change. Still, we are having an increase of about $102 million, which is based off an increase in per pupil funding with a slight enrollment loss. Where the money is spent, this is again very similar. There was an increase in school-based dollars going up to $606.2 million. That is basically based off of the increase in special education funding that I'll talk about a little bit later as well. Typically and consistent with tentative budget, I will walk through the technology and the professional services spend. So in technology, we have just around $61.8 million. I'll go through the large components. There's $15 million in for internal audit software licenses, hardware, desktops, laptop upgrades. There's $8.4 million for our human capital management system, Arasant, which is a consultant to help with that, Cherry Road, which is also helping, and Prado Corporation, which also helps. We have $5.5 million in network servicing computer-assisted instruction. We have $5.2 million in user support services. This is Apple One, Chromebook, case warranties, software licenses. We have $4.8 million in central information services, This is Arasant again, SAP, which is our financial software, IBM Endpoint Technologies. We have $4.2 million in innovation and products, this is Dell Technologies, Unified Shared Servers, et cetera. 4.1 in assessment map growth. We have $3 million in tech services, which is software maintenance and renewals. And then we have $2.8 million for emergency management related to Motorola radios, lighting, vehicle emergency packages, et cetera.
Yours is better than mine.
And then we have $2.8 million of student information systems, Infinite Campus, Apple One contractors,
Can I
and
hear
some other
from yours?
licenses.
Mr. Gowdy, can I pause you for a second? Trustees on the phone, if you could mute yourself, we can hear the conversations. Thank you. Please continue, Mr. Gowdy.
Thank you. And so those are the major components of our IT spend. Professional services, $9.7 million for speech pathology. Speech therapists, 8.7 for Accelerations Academy. This is dropout recovery services. And again, I like to point out that that is essentially cost neutral to us. We only have a cost if we recover funding through the pupil-centered funding plan. We have occupational physical therapy of $7.4 million. We have $7 million of contracted nurses, $5.5 million of social workers and other mental health services, $4.7 million related to athletic events, referees, physical therapy, et cetera. $3.4 million related to Office of General Counsel for legal services, $3.3 million in Hope Squared, $2.5 million in general maintenance contractors for some preventive maintenance, $1.9 million for online vendor course management. This is Apex Learning and Instructure. $1.7 million for transportation admin, student transportation services. $1.7 for general accounting, which includes banking fees, audit fees, Brinks, Bank of America, financial services, et cetera. And the last piece is $1.6 million. This is Lockton Health, which is our benefit advisors, our Vera Whole Health Wellness Centers, which are provided to our employees, employees that are under our medical benefit plans free of charge, and then some other miscellaneous professional services. So this is where the money's spent. This did change a bit from the tentative budget, as we did identify a couple of errors in the last presentation. In the Office of the Superintendent, it was inadvertently reported as 240 FTEs, and it should have been 14. We have corrected that. And $20.2 million of funding, which should be the 3.5. So we corrected that. All of those personnel and dollars should have been down in strategic budgets, and we have realigned those. Additionally, the operational services unit has increased from $150.2 million to $162.7. This is primarily related to IT components around one-to-one services and product. Additionally, teaching and learning did go up from 195.8 to 200.6, and again, that is due to some of the additional special education personnel that are located in the general fund. The business and finance unit also, and I did put that number. That went down by just around $50 million. And that is what we had talked about in the prior meeting and tentative. In our assigned balance, we had some budget requests that were coming through related to some IT costs for the protection of the cybersecurity and some other components. So that was expected, and so that is why that number is lower. And then strategic budgets are very close, except for the adjustment that we made to correct the prior error. Special education, again, very, very similar, with the only major change coming in the licensed positions. And so again, that was an increase related to a number of additional licensed personnel required under our special education services. So when we look at the changes from the tentative budget, our final budget has a beginning fund balance of $497.6. That is down approximately $20 million. And that decrease is primarily due to our forecasted lower school carryover forecast in this budget from the prior budget. We also had an increase in salaries and benefits, primarily around special education, and some of the minor changes we had for personnel and IT. And then additionally, services and supplies, those slight increases from the tentative budget are primarily related to the IT increases related to one-to-one devices for services as well as products. The unassigned ending fund balance is still projected to be at 4.5%, which is the same as tentative budget. We have no updates on employee contract status. And that concludes my presentation. I'll open it up to any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gowdy. Are there any questions from the trustees here on the dais? Seeing none, then I will go to the phone. Any questions, Trustee Garcia Morales?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Trustee Cavazos, any questions? Trustee Johnson?
None for me, thank you.
Trustee Williams?
None for me, thank you, Madam Vice President.
Okay,
This is Trustee Cavazos. I think I was on mute. Vice President Bustamante Adams?
yes, Trustee Cavazos, any questions for you?
No, my questions were answered previously. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a question, Mr. Gowdy. So on page 8, so what I'm taking away is that you guys did an excellent job in the projection with the final, which I want to congratulate you on. My question then is on the slight reduction in attendance. There, I don't know if it was that page, but it says something in parentheses, unweighted. Oh, that's on page 10. So it says a projected enrollment loss of 3,066, and then it says full unweighted. What does that mean?
So there are, Jason Gowdy for the record, so there are just a couple of calculations that the state requires us to include in our state forms. And one is the weighted 3,066, which is the portion that includes how we actually get funded. And then we also just have to disclose the full unweighted calculation.
Oh, I see. Got it. Okay, then seeing no questions, I want to be able to thank the taxpayers and the legislature for the increase in the funds for our teachers and other support staff. With that, then, I am going to go ahead and entertain a motion for acceptance of the final budget.
Vice President Bustamante Adams, this is Trustee Esparza Stopper again. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you. I didn't know you were on the line. Did you have any questions?
So at this time, I do not. It's just because we are at a graduation, and I just want it to be noted on the record that I am in attendance. The phone line here is dropping at Thomas and Mack. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Vice President Bustamante Adams, this is Trustee Watson. I am also on the call, and I do not have any questions as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, there is no public comment at this time, so I'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I move to approve item 2.02, the 2024-2025 final budget, and authorize for members of the Board of Trustees to file as required by NRS 354.596.
How come she's not on?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I would like to second that motion.
Okay, I have a first from Trustee Brooks and a second from Trustee Zamora. Please cast your votes. On the phone, Trustee Garcia Morales,
Aye.
Trustee Cavazos,
Aye.
Trustee Williams.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes 6-0. Next, we will move on to item 3.01, the upcoming meeting of the Board of Trustees. The next one will be on Wednesday, May 29th, 2024 at 4 p.m. here at the Education Center Boardroom. We'll move on to public comment 4.01. Is there, for non-listed items on the agenda, are there any here? Is there anyone else that has not completed a public speaker card? All right. Give me. All right. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening, trustees. My name is Daniel Pellet. To the right of me is my nephew, Diego Perez. He's a recent graduate from El Dorado High School. And the reason why we're here again today, we were here last week, I'm sure if you guys remember us, is because we were told that we were going to get a response by Friday, but we never got a response. And it's due to the same issue. Obviously, he missed a mandatory ceremony for graduation that was held today at his school. I have the exact names. Of course, Robert Solomon never got back to us. And then Lindsay Tomlinson from Region 1 Superintendent and Dr. Kelsey Rayford from Region 2 Superintendent. They met us in the hallway, and we actually were pretty encouraged by it because they seemed like they were actually taking our story. And they said that they would for sure get back to us the following day, which would have been Friday. But again, no response. And he's already missed his mandatory meeting for commencement. So now we're asking Zamora, and I believe Satori, can we please get a response from you guys? Obviously, I know this is a meeting. We can't get a direct response right now. But his graduation is supposed to be this Friday. We have family members that flew in from out of town, paid for hotel, car rentals, flights, all that, and it's pretty expensive for an incident that he was just defending himself and his brother, and he was being attacked. So we're asking for you guys to look into it, and please do the right thing. We implore you to do the right thing. Thank you. I yield back the rest of my time. Good?
Thank you. Yes, all good. Thank you. All right, seeing no other public comments for items on the agenda, non-listed items, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion for us to adjourn.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I would like to make a motion to adjourn at 5:25 p.m.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I'll second.
Okay, I have a first from Trustee Zamora and a second from Trustee Brooks. Please cast your votes. On the phone, Trustee Garcia Morales,
Aye.
Trustee Cavazos, Trustee Williams.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
You state the time.
And the time is 5:26.